do you believe in magic?
Like in general?
Do you?
Oh, are we doing a Kylie thing?
No.
Or are you doing an actual? Are you actually asking?
I was
me
actually
if
asking
I actually
you.
believe in magic. I believe in magic, but I don't believe that the magic I want to exist exists.
Okay.
Like I wish there were like
You can literally see a ...
I wish that I could do spells. Like I wish, but I wish it was like Harry Potter.
Okay.
I want there to be that kind of magic, or a discovery of witches. If we're, something like that. I would like to be able to manifest a power.
Having not seen Discovery of Witches, it feels more glamorous.
It's a little bit more glamorous. It's also, it's only adults. You would hate it because the vampire is like 1,500 years old, which you feel is too old. But she also is sort of elemental. Mm-hmm. She can like control the elements. She's got like fire and water and air stuff that she can do. So that stuff's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of thing that's the kind of magic I would like to exist.
I do believe in magic, but it's like, so I feel like if there's like a 1 to 10 scale and like 1 is like nothing, is no magic whatsoever, and 10 is like full blown Expelliarmus.
Sure.
I think I believe in magic around like a 3 or a 4.
Okay.
So I absolutely do believe in like energy and I think furthermore, it's like I don't know how frequently I've ever encountered it in my life. I think it exists out there.
Yeah.
I just think it's not common. But I think places are magic.
Sure.
Because I talk frequently about like sweet spots.
Well, like Stonehenge.
Well, I thought, sure, but I think that beach that we would go to at Ponce Inlet was magic. I think it was a sweet spot.
Okay.
Because there were multiple times where we would be at the beach and it would be raining there.
Like a mile
there,
down.
And there, but not on us.
Yeah.
And like multiple times that happened. Yeah, I mean, I do. Certainly, I mean, I believe enough to be sort of like...
I believe enough to not say it's not real.
Yeah.
I like to hedge my bets and cover my bases.
Hello, everybody. I am Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show.
That's too much.
You're twice weekly. No. Like you thought I wasn't going to do it.
I know.
Yes, so this is So I'm Watching This Show, your twice weekly pop culture podcast where we talk... Wait, am I looking there?
You're looking.
I'm looking there, where we talk about movies, music, TV, and more. And as always, this is a spoiler show. However, we are talking about an old movie, so that's your warning. So... this is our first official video episode.
As you can see by how comfortable we are.
Do you think we're not comfortable?
No, it's fine.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think I'm...
What is it like when Leslie is like trying to find like a chill way to like lean at the bowling alley? And she's like...
So on today's episode, we are going to talk about the 1996 movie The Craft, which is about witches.
Yeah.
When I was young, I thought it was about aliens.
No. Mm-hmm. It's not.
It's about witches.
Yeah.
I remember the poster, like, scaring me.
Really?
Yeah.
I just remember the poster.
I was like a sensitive child.
Well, yeah.
And I remember being like, oh, they're no good.
They're those girls.
They're no good.
Those are
are the girls I've learned about in school or in church. It was St. Peter's. So.
Those are the girls they told me about.
But yeah, this was a bit of a holy grail situation for me because I was not, well, first of all, I was a sensitive child, so I was not, I didn't seek out horror.
Well, I was also we were only 11 when this came out, so that's not really, I wasn't old enough to watch this movie then.
I was aware of it, though.
I watched it in high school.
Yeah. But my mom had like expressly forbade witchcraft. And
it's hilarious if you know Teresa now.
We're both witches at this point. She actually, she has an altar now. Well, but that's why.
Yeah.
It's because she always was intrigued by it. Yeah. And this was the 90s, so we were like deep into
goth kind of stuff.
Yeah, but I'm saying my family was like the religious right at this point. And so we're not anymore.
I'm proud of you guys.
I'm really proud of my mom. That's like a 179. Like,
well, and the other day you were like, my dad started watching Rachel Maddow, and I was like, what?
That check. Well, that's a different story.
That's a different
story. But yeah, and especially liking fantasy as much as I did as a child, my mom thought that like I could get like seduced into the occult, and it was not quite removed away enough from the satanic panic of like the mid to late 80s and all that. And so I remember, which we'll get to, we'll have this exact same conversation again on Tuesday's episode.
Yeah.
But I remember begging her to see Hocus Pocus and her not letting me. And like, when I finally, because I was like, it's a children's movie, Mom. And she thought it was too witchy, which, if memory serves, it's pretty witchy.
It's pretty witchy.
There's like the Wicked Witch of the West and Glinda.
Yeah.
And then there's like...
No, they're like doing things.
Yeah, like like proper witchcraft.
Well,
Necronomicon,
we'll probably have similar conversations for most of October because that's our
Witchtober.
Halloween theme this year. So.
When I finally did see this, I think we were at the same party.
Oh, I don't remember.
It was one of Jen's parties. McLaughlin's parties.
The only Jen party I remember specifically had the Gladiator on. While we were watching.
Well, I remember you being there.
That's fair. I think that's probably the first time that it was on in a room that I was in, but I can't have retained anything about the movie while watching it at one of those parties.
It was 9th or 10th grade, and we stayed upstairs.
Yes, we were upstairs.
It was an upstairs downstairs party, and downstairs was where like the party was.
Yeah,
and because I was a little bit aware of it because I had friends downstairs, but you were oblivious.
It was not till like years later we were in college, and I was like, there was drinking at those parties.
Yeah,
like, you're joking.
My mom, I had a good relationship with my family, like with my mom, and so I like told her that.
I just straight up didn't know. If I had told my parents,
like after the fact, I was like, she was like, were people drinking? And I was like, well, yeah. I was like, but I'm not.
That's the thing is like, if I had found out that people were drinking and I had told my parents, I would have not been allowed to go to another one.
Sure. But the fact that you were there actually made my mom...
Did it like legitimize the party?
Yeah, it made her like more comfortable. Because did we take you home one of the times?
Probably.
I feel like, yeah. Regardless. So I remember watching it, and it was one of those sort of like right when I started watching scary movies. And I remember sort of being like terrified, but also being like, oh, this isn't that bad. Yeah. Like, okay, I can kind of handle
this.
I can dig. Yeah. Like, and so when I actually sat down and watched it, I don't remember. It had to have been like a year or two later, but I remember liking it. It's been years since I've seen it. Is this movie good?
I think it's good. I remember liking it too. I think it's dated, but I think it's good. And Will actually wants to watch it with us.
Oh, okay.
So he was like, I used to love this movie. So I feel like it's one of those sort of across the board.
I saw it had like a 48 on Rotten Tomatoes, which bummed me out a little bit. But I think, is it not one of the things where it's like the girls, like these specific girls sort of elevate the material?
Sort of. But I do think it's like slightly overacted a little. Like it's
Fairuza Balk.
Fairuza Balk in the 90s. I mean, there's only
You're gonna get a...
Well, and Neve Campbell is like not the most nuanced performer, so it's like
Isn't Christine Taylor in this? Doesn't she like lose her hair? Why are we constantly taking Christine Taylor's hair away from her? That's like, because remember in Friends?
Well, it's because she's super racist in this one.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The 90s.
Yeah. It's like it's one of those really like casually racist things she says about Rachel True. And so then they take revenge on her, and that's why she loses her hair.
Okay. Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah. No, it's...
Well, so we're going to go watch the movie, and then we're going to come back and talk about it. So.
Yay. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
We're going to get sued by Trixie Mattel. Maybe not.
To the other kids at St. Bernard Academy, they were the girls who didn't belong.
Whatever you do, stay away from them.
Why?
They're witches.
But after years of being on the outside...
Why'd you lie about me?
I don't want to go out with you again. Please, stop begging. It's pathetic.
4 girls are about to discover the dark side.
You ever heard of invoking the spirit? Black magic.
We can make things happen. I mean, this is it. This is real.
Columbia Pictures welcomes you to the Witching Hour.
Check it out. Her spell is working. Sit.
The Craft.
Girls, watch out for those weirdos.
We are the weirdos, mister.
I wish I had some gin. I don't have COVID.
We're already in the same room. I feel like it's not. That's the one I like a lot. The greenhouse one. This is the only gin I can drink straight.
Oh, is it sure? Oh, I guess ice.
Yeah, it's ice. Yeah, so it's like watered down now, but it's just gin. Welcome to our show.
I very stupidly texted all my friends that we were starting our very first video episode.
Oh, smart. So now
they're all
like,
texting me back.
Perfect.
I am an idiot. So we are back. We just watched. I'm just gonna.
You can look at that one.
Okay, so we are back. We just watched the episode The Craft, the movie The Craft.
For this episode.
I need a mug in each hand.
Have my gin.
So it was. I don't know how to start.
Did you like it?
Yeah,
okay.
I did.
Did you still like it? I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was aware. It's fun. A lot of these movies that we saw as teenagers, I feel like are meant for teenagers.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and it's the type of thing where I don't want to be like a dick about it, but some of these girls at the time were not great at acting.
Neve Campbell's not great.
Neve Campbell's not great. Neve Campbell's not great as an adult either. I love her, and there's like a comfort to knowing that Neve Campbell's okay and like getting work, but she's not amazing. There's a reason that she was on like a nighttime soap for so long, and it's just sort of like, but it's also, I do have to applaud Fairuza Balk's commitment.
Okay,
but
no.
she's not great.
No, why?
It's too much.
No, it's not, because it's the only remarkable. It's not the only remarkable thing about the movie.
I will agree with that.
It's go for broke in a way that the movie needed something that was going to do that.
Yeah.
And she is, it's like, I would compare it more so to like a Lady Gaga performance.
Okay.
Where it's like she gives you too much and then it's up to like the editors, stuff to sort of piece together what works. But
I will allow that. Yes.
It's such a specific, iconic performance.
It is iconic.
She's not doing she's not doing another person.
Right.
Like, it's like she's not channeling.
I'm not sure if Fairuza Balk can do another person. I think she has what she has, and that's what she has.
Because it's not a subtle movie.
No.
By any means. And in a lot of ways, I think that's the 90s. I started to say that as we were watching this, I was like, this is the kind of thing that I think is just prime for a remake. Mm-hmm. And during the course of the movie, you mentioned that not only are there plans for a remake, but it is apparently made and debuting in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm excited not excited, that's not a word, but I'm intrigued by the Blumhouse aspect of it.
Yeah.
And Gideon Adlon's involved, and we've liked her.
I do like her. I also, the director, which Will mentioned, is Zoe Lister-Jones, who's been on a couple of sitcoms that I really like. She had a run on New Girl, and then she was on that show Life in Pieces. She was Colin Hanks's wife in that show.
Oh, so she's an actress.
She's an actress too. And then she directed a movie with her and Adam Paley that I don't remember the name of now, but it was quite good. Yeah. And she just has like such a cool face. I like her a lot. I'm excited.
Well, I was going to say that I think that this is ripe for remake because it is a notable IP, but the concept of the movie is what's interesting about it.
Yeah.
Something like, for instance, say like a Romeo and Michelle, I don't see the point in remaking that because it is specifically Mira Sorvino and Lisa Kudrow's performances in that moment that are what makes the movie work.
It's also the type of thing where like, I'm not sure high school reunions are like as much of a touchstone anymore.
That's more specific, but I just mean like there are certain things where it's like the performance is the point.
Yeah.
There are other things where the story is the point, and it's like, you know, because we've talked about, I mean, something as broad or something as iconic as like The Wizard of Oz. Like a lot of people, I don't think they should shot for shot remake, but I think
that
reimagining,
IP, that IP is like ripe for the retelling. And there's even things that I would say are like smaller than that, which is something that's been in my mind. I've seen some people talking about the last couple of days, is that movie Closer with Jude Law and Clive Owen and Natalie Portman and Julia Roberts. That's just like 4 terrible people like in each other's rotation for a handful of years. And it's like, it was a play originally, and it's like you could remake that with different actors every year until the cows came home if you felt like it. That's the type of thing. It's like, I agree with you. There's certain things, and this is definitely one of them, where the IP is there, and it's not that
it's the spooky, sexy magic and the moral. Yeah. The surprising moral at the center.
And it's not like I think these performances are necessarily bad, and I think that in their own way, all 4 of them are iconic because they all participated in this movie, but there's also nothing to say that like other people can't do it.
Well, but this is where we do get to the Fairuza Balk issue, because I don't want someone channeling
to pretend to be her. I agree.
But I would want someone doing something ambitious in a different way.
Yeah. Well, we really, I want to say like as a society, I feel like we've moved past that type of girl. To an extent,
it is very much a thing of its time.
Yeah, the boys, 90s, the girls, the school in general.
But even the attitude, it has that 90s sort of, I say this a lot, but sort of like sardonic, ironic, like kind of snide.
Well, it was like the time in our history where like everything had to be edgy. And so it feels like whoever was writing this,
but like edgy and a real, like grounded,
like really gritty. And so it feels like whoever the screenwriter was and whoever the studio was like, this is good, but like, give me more edgy. And it's like, that's a nonsense word that like doesn't actually compute anything.
Also, the script is very straightforward, and the story is also very straightforward. And so I'm going to say something. I'm going to say that it was a good script or a clever script. And what I mean by that is once you have like the blatantness of the story, once you take that out of the equation, there's little things that are actually just sort of funny, littered throughout it. Like anything Breckin Meyer says, it was actually just kind of like, I found myself laughing, and he's like a jerk, but I was like, that was funny.
Well, also Breckin Meyer can make almost anything charming.
Sure. But it also, and I mean, this is another thing that might be of the time, but I found as an adult watching this, I found Christine Taylor's character to be a little bit baffling because she's straightforwardly racist, which I had forgotten. I mean, you warned me.
I did.
And I was still...
I had forgotten the second half of it. I remembered the comment about her hair, but I didn't remember the second thing that she says, which is so much worse, and I refuse to say it.
It's a lot, and it's just unforgivable.
It is.
And the arc that they're giving, like, there's a scene where Rochelle sees, you know... I'm assuming you know what this is about.
I would imagine.
It's about 4 teenage girls who...
Everybody on Twitter voted for this movie.
Yeah, it's about 4 teenage girls who like kind of form a coven and get into magic. And the new girl... What is Rachel True's name?
Rochelle.
No.
Rachel True's name is Rochelle. Okay. Robin Tooney's name is Sarah.
RT, sorry. Yeah. So Sarah is like a physical, like a real witch, and the other 3 of them
a natural witch.
Yeah, a natural witch. And the other 3 of them are more like just practicing dabbling. And so when she enters their little clique, they are actually able to channel magic, like real magic and stuff.
So that's my first issue, is that none of these girls seem to understand what being the person who calls the watchtowers of the North means, because that's like the true place. Like North is like, that's the powerful one, and they like, so they were missing a North, and they couldn't call on the powers and everything. And so I'm just like, why are you not I know that like Nancy is the leader, but like this person is obviously the actual leader because she's the watchtower of the North.
I really could use...
and the Earth. And I just was like, come on.
I really could use a little bit more subtlety with easing into the witchcraft of it all. And by that, I don't mean I want them to really dance around it, because it's one of our biggest pet peeves when supernatural,
when they're not actually
they, like,
supernatural,
refuse to say the word, or it's like they refuse to actually like it's like we know what we want witches, and we're getting it with this movie, but the movie is sort of like Aerosmith Rock and Roller Coaster, where you're like, whoa! And so I could have used just a little bit more like easing in.
Sure.
They are able to like capture and like embody Manon, whatever. It's not real.
Yeah.
He was made up for the movie.
Oh, okay.
I did in a twist, because you're usually the one that does trivia stuff, but I read some stuff about it, and it is fairly accurate according to the research I was doing.
Like witchy wise?
Yeah, pagan wise. They had like a person on set, like a I can't think of the word, but
consultant.
A consultant. And she led them in many ways the right way, but also she was like some of the spells they were doing were like half real, but they were like she didn't feel comfortable with
putting real magic on
giving like teenagers an instruction manual for real magic. And furthermore, even if you don't believe in that, she was like, it is a culture, like it is a religious practice and stuff. And so they made up a deity so that way they could do it. And apparently the like invocation on the beach, they had to film that like 2 or 3 times, because every time they were doing it, the weather wouldn't cooperate.
No, thank you.
Yeah, like the weather.
Now I believe in magic. I don't like stuff like that.
Apparently, like one of the shots of the ocean coming too close was real. It just out of nowhere, the ocean just shot up the beach and stuff. But so anyway, so the moral of the movie is it's the golden rule that everything that you do comes back to you, and they say times 3. And so
I think in witchcraft it comes back to you times 3, because you're using powers that aren't yours technically, but like in real life, whatever you put out comes back to you the same way, but not times 3, because you're just using yourself.
And so the story follows the girls sort of like getting what they want, and then, as usual, when dealing with magic,
be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, all of that. And there is sort of a good versus evil battle in the end. And so anyways, within doing all that, they each sort of at the 1/3 mark, they each sort of like cast a spell. There's like a love spell, a revenge spell, power, all that. And so the issue is going back to Christine Taylor and Rochelle. It's Laura, I think, Laura and Rochelle. It's just unforgivable, I think. And there's the scene where Rochelle sees what she's done to Laura, where Laura's like in the shower crying, and she's like, what did I do to deserve this? And I was like, be a bad person.
Be a bad racist.
And I was like, I wish it wasn't that. Like, I wish it wasn't. And I know that, again, I think that's more of a 90s thing.
Well, if she was just like a girl bully.
Just a bitch.
Just a bitch bully. But even still, the optics of it are like the like this strikingly beautiful blonde woman being mean to the black girl. It still has this undercurrent, even if she hadn't said the horribly racist things.
It's like Christine Taylor, it couldn't have been more like perfect 90s.
I know.
Like she's
like
out.
Her and Alicia Silverstone.
She's out, but she's outdoing Alicia Silverstone. She is outdoing Alicia Silverstone. It's insane. And so then there's the scene at the end where they're at the party where like Laura approaches Rochelle with the bad wig, and she's like, I need to talk to you. And they cut away.
She just says, I wanted to apologize. And then they
does she say it?
She does. And then she says, it cuts upstairs to Fairuza Balk seducing Skeet Ulrich.
And I was like, well, we weren't done with that scene.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure that it's on the cutting room floor.
Probably, because that does also bring me to another issue that I was kind of having, is they establish, early on from the beginning that Nancy is like bad.
Yeah.
She's just hard bad.
Look, I don't want to be a dick, but she looks like Fairuza Balk, so she's obviously the bad person. She's got one of those faces. It's like Debbie Mazar has managed to like make a career out of being like a sweet person just with a face like that, but she looks like
mean.
They both look mean, and I always equate them together.
Well, I sort of like laughed out loud when Sarah was like, can I sit at your table? Can I sit with your group? And she's just like,
She's just staring her down with that Fariza Balk face.
For like 10 seconds. And it was like, okay, fine. And it was stuff like that where when I was like, the script was good. It's like the story was just fine, but like little things about the script.
Well, and I wondered if that was like actual screen direction or if the actresses and the director were like, this is what I'm going to do.
But so we do get this sort of like power play between Sarah and Nancy, but I was a little perplexed that like Bonnie and Rochelle like sprint down the dark path with.
Yeah, and
like they're all in.
Okay, and the other thing that bothers me about that is that even once they see the like error of their ways, like when regardless of whether she deserves forgiveness or not, when Laura comes up to Rochelle at the party and is like, I'm sorry,
for me with Rochelle,
and then she even still doubles down harder on following like the dark side or whatever, and I'm just and the whole time there's a couple of really big plot holes for me, because the first one is the Watchtower of the North, and then the second one is after Sarah is like, I can't do this anymore. They're like, okay, well, we don't need you anymore anyway. And I'm like, you definitely do.
That's the whole first part of the movie.
You weren't doing this stuff before she came here. You obviously need her. And so that's the kind of thing where they're like, well, you're out of the circle anyway. And I'm like, well, good luck. I don't know what you're thinking.
But by that point,
and he's
Nancy has Manon or whatever.
Yeah. Inside her.
She keeps screaming that.
Saying it. He's inside me. I'm just like, I don't know, man.
And again, it's like, I had to remind myself that Chris sucked in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because there's the scene where he like tries to rape Sarah. Yeah. And I'm like, I mean, not to be an apologist.
No, it's okay.
But he's under a spell.
It's not an apologist thing. And I hate the words that are coming out of my mouth. And this is probably going to be our first and last video episode, depending on how this goes. But the thing for me about Chris is I think he's a victim too, because she put this spell on him, and it feels like it's growing the longer it goes too. And he's like, he doesn't understand what's happening. It's like his brain's not working, and he's like, I have to. And so it's like, I can't in good conscience say she made him do it, but she kind of made him do it. And it's like, I think that's actually one of the more nuanced parts of this movie, is like thinking about that, especially watching it like in the year 2020.
And it's not an instruction manual.
No.
You know, that is something that gets lost on people, especially in these times, in this climate. When a movie depicts something questionable or provocative or even, you know, wrong, bad or whatever, a lot of people are like, well, that's problematic. And I'm like, because it was.
That's the thing. It is problematic, but I think the more...
Because it was a problem.
Yeah, it is problematic, but I think the more nuanced way to look at it is that it is problematic from either side. Like, he obviously shouldn't be doing that, but he also has no control over his own brain and emotions and actions because of the spell she put on him. But this
just... Because I think a lot of it is the 90s-ness of it. You could just get away with rape and racism and all this stuff in the 90s, and that brings me back to the whole, maybe this IP is worth exploring from, you know, a more nuanced perspective and stuff.
But I would argue that you could do that exact storyline, but you could delve into it a little deeper about how his consent was also taken from him, and I think that's kind of a fascinating thing to look at and think about.
Because it's not
in a way that
it's in the movie because we're talking about it. But
I don't think it was on purpose in this version. I think if they were to do it now, it would be more purposeful about his consent as well.
Will said something halfway through. It was when they were doing the light as a feather, stiff as a board scene, which another iconic scene. We've all been there.
I can't count on all my appendages how many times I did.
I've actually only played it once, but the mother comes in and she's like, are you kids smoking dope in here? And Will kind of laughed, and he was like, I feel like this character is a relic of its time.
This type of parent.
Like, because he was like, with the way the world works now, everyone has smartphones, and he was like, parents are so tuned in to what's going on. And I completely agree. And it's like, we're also storytelling, like almost all storytelling is so much more thoughtful these days, and it's so much more. I mean, just look at the fact that like a lot of times in these movies, teenagers look like teenagers now in a way that they did not. I mean, the extras in this movie, there's like
like adult
30-year-old men.
Adult men.
With like shirts tucked into their jeans.
Was it on an episode of Buffy or was it something else where there's just like a man with a bald spot and like
Sabrina
a polo
the
shirt?
Teenage
That's
Witch.
What it is. That's what
It's
it is.
just for the
There's just like a man.
just
in high
open
school.
call
Yeah.
on the extras.
They're like, it's okay. You won't be on screen, but you'll get your daily check.
So if this were to be redone, you know, and redone with any actual care, I think things would mean more.
Yeah.
Like I kind of wanted to understand the significance of the snakes other than they come back at the end, but it's just to scare you. Like the homeless guy that's constantly thrusting snakes in Sarah's face and screaming relax. And I mean, I know anytime I encounter a hysterical woman, the more I scream relax at her.
It always works. Just relax, let it happen. It's all fine.
But it's like, what was the significance of that character?
I don't know, other than she does tell that story like about halfway through where she's like, I used to like have sort of like waking nightmares where there would just be snakes everywhere and I'd close my eyes and open them and they'd still be there. And so I don't know if that's just like her trigger or whatever, but the man at the beginning, the homeless man at the beginning is never explained.
No.
And
other than we needed an early kill, I guess.
he did die. I mean, he got hard run over by that car, so I guess.
It like ran over his head.
His head, yeah, it did. It was bad. So, yeah, I don't know. That's all I can think of is that it's sort of like a callback for when she tells them that story.
Mm-hmm. I would have liked a little bit more from that.
I would have liked a little bit more from the owner of the shop, of the witch shop. Like one more scene.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
She's Assumpta.
I assumed
when
as
we
much.
saw her in the credits.
I assumed.
She
I think
looks like an Assumpta.
yeah, she needed another scene. I really liked and appreciated her presence, and that's another one where I was like, oof. We could get more from this character nowadays.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why Sarah like went to her, like sought her out towards the climax and then immediately ran
Bolted.
away.
Yeah.
And furthermore, the Assumpta was just like, wait,
No, Sarah.
don't go.
No.
And it like
I mean, she was like, no, Nancy's coming. I can't.
yeah, she
here,
did sort of be like, I don't want to
but-
bring this to you after
Yeah.
she brought it to her.
At least we didn't have one more scene of them finding her dead or something.
And it's on the cutting room floor.
Probably. So she's like one of the owners of the magic box on Buffy. Just like there's like 4 of them. They all end up murdered.
I did enjoy it. I absolutely believe it served its purpose for me when I was younger. And I do think it's funny that it is sort of like a rite of passage that you're supposed to, there's just always in every generation, there's like a crop of movies that are maybe right on the cusp, like maybe you shouldn't see them yet or whatever. But it's like I said, it's a rite of passage because when you're younger, you forgive like
plot holes and bad, like medium writing and
like
stuff.
Nancy's whole family thing. It's like that was it was so ridiculous at first, like the abusive stepfather and like the good for nothing mother. And then it does get a little bit interesting when she like kills him.
Yeah.
And the mother turns into like another character.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
I
she
think
just disappears from the movie.
I think she turns into what she would have always been had she not been
which is kind of
poor.
like fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, she was a riot.
Yeah.
And
She kind of all it kept reminding me of was Allison Janney from Drop Dead Gorgeous. It, like a little bit more that way. Yeah.
And also, I mean, it's like $175,000 is a lot of money. I'm not trying to say that it's not, but I feel like they didn't fully understand how money works.
So I'm thinking $175,000
500,000
in 1996 was probably a lot more, and especially for them. So if they like had managed to buy that apartment, it might have worked out. But that was like a penthouse apartment in Los Angeles.
It was
Even in 1996, I'm not sure.
well, it was like they're going to be out of money in 3 months.
Yeah, there's like no
Which,
way.
Actually, I mean, that could be true to the character. That
Sure,
could have been intentional, but it just sort of it was a little bit odd, like I said, to have her mother just disappear from the movie completely. And both Bonnie and Rochelle, I was disappointed in them. And more so because I can understand them being seduced by Sarah at the height of it.
By
But
Nancy.
even No, yeah, sorry. By Nancy at the height of it. But even at the end, when they like come crawling back to Sarah, they're
like...
They didn't learn.
Okay, and the other thing for me is that like I feel like Rochelle learned a little something, but
in scenes where she was alone.
Well, yes, but Neve Campbell's scars never came back.
We don't know.
I don't think so. She was still like real confident and everything at the end, and so that's
wearing long sleeves and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not sure. I guess, but they don't like we don't see her stuff coming back at her.
They just like. They like come back and they're like, do you still have magic? And she was like, yeah, and I'm not sharing. And they're like, well, you stuck anyways. And it was like, you learned nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go ahead and call shenanigans on the medical procedure.
Sure. I mean, it was experimental. Dr. Brenda Strong.
So you have like really bad scars covering your back. Let me just stab you with a needle a whole bunch.
It was some kind of gene therapy. I think it was like more akin to a skin graft.
Okay.
But like, the science checks out for me. I don't know what to say.
I mean, maybe if they were injecting something.
I think they were.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think it was a hollow needle. No, I think they were injecting something.
I'm like, that's gonna...
Because then that's how, when she was like wiping it off, it was, I think that she was injecting something to like under the, so to sort of grow new skin under the scar tissue.
Okay.
Is what it...
Okay.
But I agree with you, it's not made totally clear.
Well, and furthermore, I was like, why can't she have anesthetic or anesthesia? Like...
So Neve Campbell can scream while she's strapped down to a hospital table?
Terrible. I remember that really traumatizing me as a teenager.
Yeah.
And looking at it now, I was like, oh no, that's egregious just to scare teenagers. Yeah.
The thing that always got me, which I didn't remember until right before it happened, was all the sharks washed up on the beach. Mm-hmm. It hurts my feelings.
It was something that, but I think it's one of the more... It's poignant, and the more it felt more proper to.
Well, and it's like it's a proper tableau that you see, but I just was like,
look at what you've done.
Yeah, I was like, well, sharks didn't. But she's like, it's a gift. Look at my gifts. He's inside me, and I'm just like, ooh.
She's the bad guy by that point.
Well, obvious, because she comes out of the ocean like Jesus walking across the water, but yeah.
No, that was interesting. That was one of the things that I saw in my trivia where it was like the director put it in there just because he saw that phenomenon. It happens sometimes as a young person, and it had an impact on him. And so he put it in that scene.
Wow.
And like I said, that's one where that felt, like actually authentic. Mm-hmm. And I liked when they went like on the day trip to like the vineyards or something. They went out to the park, or not the park, I don't know what to call it.
No, it was just like the countryside.
There you go. Yeah. That's the word I was looking for. And the butterflies came down, and it has its moments. I looked, and it was a 53, 55 around Tomatoes, and I stand by that. I think that's
fine.
It is a mixed bag, and I think it's best when you are younger, and I think it's or less discerning viewer.
But we're also slightly nostalgic for it. So I think like our generation can watch it again and be like, oh my God, remember when? And
I feel totally confident saying like, oh, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
But I would never be like, it's a great movie.
If you haven't seen The Craft, oh my God.
So
I mean, I think it dings at 10 points just from Skeet Ulrich's hair alone.
We weren't a fan.
Weirdly curly and short, really short. Like it's not even short in Scream. Mm-hmm. So I've only ever known him with hair that's like here-ish. If you were to let it like,
it's like
down.
Black and slick.
Yeah.
How greasy is it? So greasy. Yes.
He plays lacrosse and he loves me, but he loves lacrosse more.
Yeah.
How long is his hair?
I don't know, but it's greasy.
Yes.
That's from Bob's, right? About Tina, yeah.
And then in this, he's got like curly blonde hair, like, and I was like, I don't know what's happening.
And he's like a football star.
In what world?
No, sorry.
In what world is Skeet Ulrich?
I love Skeet Ulrich.
It's the Family Guy.
Absolutely not.
There's nothing good about who you are or what you do.
I love him. I'm here for it.
Well, we didn't mention the iconic slow motion scene.
Oh my God.
It's so good. And it's so funny because every time a scene like that becomes like stitched into cinema history, I somehow always think that they were able to plan and execute it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, they just actually captured magic.
Yeah.
And
I think
then
so.
It became, I feel like they were aspiring to iconic. And it's like, no, it just actually.
I think so often scenes like that are just like, okay, well, we're going to get this slow-mo of you guys walking across the quad. Like, you own it. And then it's like, do whatever. And Fairuza Balk does that big hand kiss and everything. And it's like, you can't plan something that good.
Rachel's tits are just
and there's 8 visible nipples in that shot. It's very
it's
intense.
so good.
But it's such an excellent scene.
Famously rotoscoped in X-Men Evolution.
Yep. I've seen that. It's very good.
But no, that alone, it absolutely is iconic and has a place. And I did appreciate a lot of the witchiness, and because it does actually get pretty witchy.
It does.
And
there's Nancy is flying. They're all 3 levitating, and Nancy's flying at a certain point and stuff. I can't say levitating anymore. Levitating. Sorry.
So I was like, I'm gonna have to pull some clips for this episode. But I enjoyed it, and I would revisit it, and I'm very cautiously, I'm not going to say optimistic, but I'm interested. I am interested in watching this remake.
Me too.
Are they playing? Is it
I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna be are they playing Sarah and Nancy, or is it just 4 girls?
I would imagine it's just 4 girls, but I don't have a lot of information about it. I remembered when they announced it because
I would a little bit prefer it to be a remake, in the vein, and not so shot for shot.
So I remember them announcing it, and I was like, oh, cool. And then I remembered them saying Zoe Lister-Jones was directing, and I was like, oh, really cool. And then that's the last thing I heard about it until yesterday when I saw the article that was it's coming out in October. And I was like, what the fuck? That's so soon. But that's the last thing I saw about it.
I guess that's it. Do you have anything else you want to?
I don't think so. I liked it too. Again, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good for what it is. And I think part of it is definitely my nostalgia for when I saw it first and everything. But no, I liked it. I think it holds up as much as it needs to hold up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Well, as always, you can follow us on Twitter @SoI'mWatching or Instagram @SoI'mWatchingThisShow, show, and you can subscribe.
Do that part
here. Yeah,
because that's the part that's new, and that's the part that we're really banking on.
Subscribe to us on YouTube if you're only listening to this, and I assume it's YouTube @SoI'mWatchingThisShow or YouTube /SoI'mWatchingThisShow.
That's something we should learn.
But there will be a link on the website, so if you go to soimwatching.com, you can find it there as well. And then other than that, you trying to find it?
Mm-hmm.
So other than that, you can rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And that's it for us. Bye. Goodbye.